Welcome to the Calgary Sessions. This is episode number 8. I'm your host, Jeff Humphreys. Today's guest will be a fun conversation. We met a couple years ago at a gym that we go to called Most. When I started the show, he was on my hit list to bring him in early. So anyways, I've been looking forward to this. Introduce yourself, tell him who you are and where you work.
Says he brings me in early, but I'm episode 8. Wow.
Well, like it's below 12. I would consider that early.
Top 10. That's all that matters.
Exactly.
Top 10. If this thing actually takes off, then I could always say I was top 10 on the Calgary Sessions with Jeff Humphreys.
Or, you know, the first 7 were so shitty, we don't even air yours because the show's done.
Exactly. Anyways, my name's Mike Klassen. Born and raised Calgarian. Played football in the CFL for 7 years. Was fortunate enough to get 4 years with the Calgary Dinos. And since my football career had ended, retired in 2019 at the end of the season.
Yep.
Which there hasn't been a season played yet, so I kind of timed that thing perfectly.
Yep.
I've been working in the restaurant industry, kind of family business style, and having a bit of success and
cool.
Trying to do big things.
And you opened up. You are now like owner at
strEATS, Beltline Kitchen. But I also have, again, family business. So I have corporate interests. So I'm also responsible for all the marketing and stuff that we do for our 11 other stores. And hopefully by the time this episode airs, we are on number 12.
It's good. It'll happen. So how, you know, like I said, me and Mike met at the gym. You know, the first time I saw him wheel into the gym, big dude rolls in the back door of the gym, and he's wearing this like 70s brown kind of fur coat, like down to like below his knees, kind of mid shin. And I'm like, wow, A, this guy's a monster, and B, what is this jacket he's wearing? So that was the first time I saw you. And the gym, the Most is a really cool place because there's no attitude, there's no nothing. It's super chill, which is all of a sudden these random conversations start happening. And yeah, that's what kind of sets it apart.
It's family oriented.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's got the earbuds in. Everyone's talking to each other. Everyone knows each other.
Yep.
It's not awkward to ask somebody if they're done with a piece of equipment, whatever. You know, everyone's family, and you all show up at the same time every day, so you get to know the people that you're working out with. And
Yep.
I think that's how we met.
Yep.
Like, okay, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Recognize you the last couple of weeks. Hey, what do you do? Oh, I do this, you know, and then you go on from there and you forge these relationships. And I think that's cool and important. And that's why I enjoy that gym culture so much, especially that type of gym. I mean, that's how it was in college, right? You just, not only do you know all the boys you play with on the team, but you also know all the other athletes, whether they be speed skaters, volleyball players, basketball players. You know, you get to know all these great people and forge these awesome connections.
Yeah.
So.
And it is rare. Like, you've been around a lot of gyms in your day, and most is a different place. Like, it's got a different vibe to it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there are other gyms like it, and I always kind of gravitate towards that type of gym where, you know, everyone's kind of, you know, you got some high level athletes, you got some NARPs, as I like to call them.
NARPs. I say tourists. What's a NARP?
Non-athletic, regular person. That's a NARP. And I'm a NARP now. And it's like unfortunate because like I feel like a NARP, especially these last 2 months of closures. I like growing a dad bod, and I'm not a dad yet. But no, I love the gym, and I was averaging like one gym a year. Every off season, I was like, new trainer, new gym. I was just like trying to find my place. And Dave Swagger over there at Most, you know, he's built that culture up, and I really enjoy going over there.
Yeah, it's cool. So obviously the show is about entrepreneurs, artists, and athletes. Right before we jumped on here, Mike said he might actually be the trifecta. Could have been the trifecta of all three, but right now he's covering athlete and entrepreneur. So we'll get into the artist story in a little bit. So I'd like to bring the guests, kind of just wheel them back to their history and just kind of how they got on their path. Your path started with the athletic side, and then it's kind of woven into the family business, owning a taco shop essentially. So yeah, let's go back to just kind of growing up and how, you know, just some like, you know, your first kind of memories of whatever, you know, either what you learned from your dad, the athletic side, like just go back to wherever you want to go.
Go back. Like, is this where we make all these fun sound effects and we go back in time? And...
I do the post-production. There's nothing fun about the sounds. There's nothing. It's just me cutting it.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll go back to high school kind of thing. And, ever since junior high, it was always, now they offered school sports. So it's like, okay, what can I do? I think from grade 7 to 9, I did 7 to 8 school team sports a year.
So basketball, volleyball, track,
literally everything.
Badminton?
Like it was badminton. I was mixed doubles champ for the IS2A champ in Calgary. But it was like, you show up to school and then you got cross country starts right away.
Yeah.
And volleyball starts right away.
Yeah.
And wrestling starts right away. So you do all three at the same time. Then as volleyball ends, then basketball picks up. And wrestling's still going on. And then come spring, then it's badminton, track and field, and all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So did that for a few years and loved every minute of it. And I was fortunate enough to keep making all these teams at high school. But then when I got to grade 10, I was good friends with Tom Spolatini. The Spolatini family has a huge football name in the city, as you may know, Spalumbos and that, and Tony and Tom Spolatini both played for the Stampeders. Yep. So Tom Spolatini's son, Tom Spolatini, typical
Junior?
Italian of fashion. Like you walk in a room full of Italians and you say, you don't know anyone's name, just start yelling out Tom or Tony, and half the room or Maria, and the whole room will stand up. Sorry for any Italians. Are you Italian? You kind of look Italian.
Man. My mom's maiden name is Bombadiri.
Holy smokes!
Yeah, so I got some Italian.
And your middle name's probably Tom or Tony.
Maria.
Maria, yeah. So anyways, I'm good friends with Tom's son Tom, or in Italian term Tomasino or something like that. Tomasino.
Like olive oil.
Yeah. And then Dad wanted his son to play high school football. And it was either, we get on the program and create a team and get competitive. This was a very small high school.
Which one?
Rundle College.
Okay.
So private school, real small, like, 80 kids a class type thing. Like not a class, like 80 kids in grade 10, 80 kids in grade 11, 80 kids in grade 12. Yep. So he wanted a football team. So he kind of pushed the higher ups or whatever. And my grade 10 year, we created a football team.
No way.
We didn't belong to any league. We just kind of kept playing exhibition games against all these like high school football teams and kind of just tried to find our way. And so it was created. And I was walking down the halls and I didn't want anything. I hated, like, I didn't care about football. Like, I didn't want to play. But here I was, like, I was the big, tall, skinny guy. Like,
okay.
Right? Yeah, so here I am, 6'4", 6'5".
Grade 10?
Yeah, grade 10. I was probably still only $185.
I was gonna say $175, but
maybe like $170, like just skin and bones. But I was strong. I like kind of, my whole mom's family is farm family and all that
got
stuff.
some genetics.
Like, we spend time, we worked. So I was strong, but I was skinny. And they wanted me out on the football team, and like, okay, I'll go out, whatever. And I hated it, like literally hated every second. But like, there's some about me that like, once I start something, I gotta finish it. So I just stuck it out, and I stuck it out through grade 10. I stuck it out through grade 11.
Grade 11 still, exhibition, random.
No, we ended up getting on to Div 4. So there's 4 divisions in the Calgary area.
Yep.
And it's all based on school size.
So like Francis is 1 because they're massive. Mary's is whatever 2 maybe because they're not as
And then you can always move up, meaning like if you're a small school but you're good and you're competitive.
Yep.
You can always move up a division.
Yep.
But you can't move back. You can't have a school body of 2,000 and be playing Div 4.
Okay.
So we were Div 4, and we played the exhibition games against Wisewood and these like Diefenbaker. I remember playing them, and we were always competitive. But here we were in Div 4. So then we got to go play Okotoks, Drumheller, Olds, and we were playing these big-ass freaking farm boys. Like, I remember we rolled up into Olds to play Olds, and, like, they had a guy that he was so big they couldn't find football pants for him. No, so they literally just taped the pads to his legs, and he wore, like, regular, like, probably 4X gym shorts, and they just had football pads taped onto his thighs, and we're like, who the hell is this dude, and then here's this 350-pound like 17-year-old kid probably chucking bales his whole life.
Crazy.
But anyways, so we didn't do so hot. I mean, we kind of made it to like whatever semifinal provincials or whatever. Never won anything. The year I left, of course, The year after I left, they won provincials for 2 years in a row.
Oh, really? So,
but once you get to hear the rest of my story, you'll know that I'm the biggest loser there is in the sport of football. So yeah, grade 11, grade 12, okay, congratulations. Ended up being okay. One lineman of the year for our team.
So you're playing on the line?
All 5 linemen we had, because everyone played both ways, because we only had 22 people on our team.
Right.
I got lineman of the year.
Okay.
I was offensive tackle,
check,
defensive end.
Yep.
I think that was the only award I ever got. No, I got other ones. But anyways, so then it comes time. Okay, grade 12 football season's done. I think we lost in a pretty big game. I'll forget against who. I think it was the Cochrane Cobras, and they're a very good football team. But unfortunately, we're in their league because they have the same size school. But again, they had history and great coaching and all that other stuff.
Yep.
So then, have the opportunity to go try out for the North-South Bowl.
Okay.
So it's kind of like
it's high school
all-star game between grade 12 high school students. And it's also like all the university coaches kind of watch these inter-provincial games, or intra-provincial games, I guess it'd be, whatever. So I go to these tryouts and absolutely kill it. Like I'm just as good as all these guys from these big schools. Here's a Scron from Rundle College, and nobody knows his freaking name, right? Like you got all these other DNs like from Diefenbaker, St. Mary's,
like football schools.
Like football schools, Western, decent guys, And I thought I put my best foot forward. Like if I was a betting man, I would have bet that I would have made that team based on that tryout.
Because you're an athletic dude.
Yeah.
So you thought you could put it together and make the team.
Yeah, and I thought I did all right or whatever, and I didn't make the team, and it was bullshit. It's all political. Just as like I came to find out over the next 10 years of my career,
just gonna say
how political like sports get, especially at the higher levels.
Yep.
Because they had already made the team.
Yep.
Because they already knew everybody they wanted on their team.
Yep.
And this wasn't the first time it screwed me over either. Or maybe I'm just like, saying all this stuff to try to protect, my name or whatever.
Dude.
But I honestly believe I should have made that team.
Yep.
So Coach Nill, he was the coach of the Dinos. He walked up to me on the Sunday of the last practice for this tryout. And he gave me this letter of intent. Like, hey, would you like to come try out for the Dinos next weekend kind of thing.
And did you have an after school plan of school? Did you have anything in your head?
So up until that point, this would have been spring of grade 12. So this is kind of when you're applying for schools, and I'd applied for a couple universities and stuff. But up until that point in my life, I was a huge artist. I was not only in school, I did all the art classes and stuff, and I was kind of the guy. I actually won the art award at my high school.
Crazy.
But since the age of probably 12, I was in this after-school art program where I would spend 2 to 4 hours a week kind of with this teacher, and we'd have a class and we'd do things. And I entered a few shows, including the Stampede exhibition, which I don't know if you've ever walked through the Corral or Big Four where they have the art show.
Yep.
So my stuff had been on display quite a few times there. Won a couple awards, actually.
Crazy.
So that was kind of around the same time. And I'd applied for Emily Carr. And when you apply for Emily Carr, you kind of have to send them a portfolio.
Yep.
So I sent them a portfolio of my works.
So paintings, hand drawings, like what was your, all of it? Or what was your like specialty?
I kind of experimented with it all. I gravitated towards pastels quite a bit, but I also did quite a few acrylics and pencil crayons as well.
Cool.
But maybe after the show, I'll show you a bit of my work.
Dude, I'd love to. Like,
but
crazy.
No, it was good. It was awesome, and continued through elementary, junior high, and high school. And
then, so you applied to Emily Carr, which is down east.
It's out in Vancouver. It's
Vancouver.
in Vancouver or
I can't
Van
remember.
Island.
Yeah, but it's west. Isn't there a big art school in Toronto?
Humbert, I think you're thinking of, but that's more of a musician.
Gotcha.
That's more a musician.
So you thought in grade 12 you were going to Emily Carr.
I thought I was going to do the whole artist thing, and I really enjoyed it, and I got pretty good, especially my grade 11, 12 year, where I was, I had a 2-hour class with my art teacher every Tuesday. But I was trying to kind of get ahead of the curve. So she would just text me. I mean, I don't even know if she was texting back then. probably phone calls or whatever, like, hey, so-and-so is not coming to their class this week or whatever. And I kept filling in all these classes. So I was getting to the point where I was doing like 6 to 8 hours outside of what I was doing at school and at home. Yep. Which was awesome. She was an amazing teacher, learned a lot.
What was her name?
Deborah McIntosh. Actually, I haven't spoken to her in years, but I wonder what she's up to. But no, it's cool. So yeah, so here I am, like Coach Nils come up to me at the end of practice, like, you want to try out for the Dinos? Here's a letter of intent, which I don't know is a binding agreement or whatever. But like when you're 17 years old, you're like, whoa.
Did you think that you were good enough to play university ball?
No, and nor did I want to either.
Okay.
Nor did I want to. I didn't like football. I already established this. I just played because my friend's dad wanted me to.
And it's just another sport to play in high school.
It's just another sport to play. Like why? What is football? Like, you go and you get hit and it hurts and whatever. Like, guys are drooling on you, spitting on you, trying to hurt you intentionally. Like,
and the crazy thing is, there's you. So obviously you're like the we had the artist in you, but there's some athlete football players that from grade 8 are those guys that's all they do. I just want to hit guys and drool on them. Yeah. But
I was just always the guy that could kind of do those things, and I was always strong and athletic enough, but I would never get emotional to where I wanted to hurt somebody.
Gotcha.
And we can talk about that a little bit further. And it's funny you bring up the art thing, because my high school football coach always made fun of me because I would always miss Tuesday practices because I went to art class.
Crazy.
And even like 10 years later, he's just like, man, this guy, he missed football practice because he went to art class. And you know what? I could have easily missed art class, but I think I just didn't love football that much that I would have rather been at art class. Like, crazy, it was just like, what did you like more, right? Yep. So fast forward, we're, Sunday at this all-star tryout. Blake Neal hands me the letter of intent, like, come out next weekend for the Dinos spring camp, which is spring camps, the tryouts, 130 guys come out. Actually, probably even more than that. So I'm like, okay, whatever. My buddy Tom was going, and he was really the only other guy I knew at this point. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm coming out to the Dinos tryouts. Let's do this thing or whatever. And, ended up at the end of the weekend. No, sorry. I'm getting confused. He didn't hand me the letter of intent until the end of the Dinos tryouts. Okay. He had just invited me at that point. Okay. So he invited me out and again, did all right or whatever. But here I am, like 6'5", $195, maybe 200 pounds. Yep. And these are Dinos. These are like, they just won the Can West the year before. Like,
so the age range goes from you being a 18-year-old and then to the vets being 4 years old and that. So is that the age range?
This was the old days of CIS where like guys were like 25, 26, 27. You'd go out to Winnipeg, play Winnipeg. They got like kids coming on the field after. I think in my third year, they changed the rule that now you have 7 years after high school to play 5 years of ball.
Gotcha.
So essentially, no matter what, you only have till you're 25.
Gotcha.
But when I first got in there, we were playing like 28, 29-year-olds.
Man, and you're a boy.
When Winnipeg won the Vanier Cup, which is the national championship for college ball in Canada, they had an older team than the team that won the CFL, than the Grey Cup same year. I think it was in like 2006.
No way.
So the CIS, the Winnipeg, the Bisons, CIS Bisons had an older team than the team that won the Grey Cup that year. So thank God they changed those rules, because the difference between you as a man at 18 versus 21, even versus 25, like my 21-year-old self could have beat the shit out of 3 of my 18-year-old selves. Like, no joke.
It's way different.
Way different.
Those are some crazy growth years.
And that's why Laval wins every year. Laval being the team out in Quebec City, because they go out, they play 3 years of CJEP before they go to university.
Oh.
So when we'd start playing Laval, they're always 2-3 years older than us. And again, we're talking about this 18 to 25-year-old range where like 25, you're a man. 18, you're still a boy.
Crazy.
Men beating up.
But Laval always wins. Like, I'm a sports guy, so I follow it enough. But, whenever you're watching the Vanier Cup, usually Laval's in it.
Yeah. They got full-grown ass men.
Crazy. I didn't know that.
All the Dinos would be 2 years in the CFL, and these Laval guys are like 24, 25 years old playing offensive line, and they're
Crazy.
big, strong dudes. I played them twice in my career, and I'm like, holy shit.
This is different.
This is a full-grown ass man. Like, this is a big-ass man.
Crazy. So after that first weekend, tryouts, then where do you, like, what
So
happened?
made the team.
Oh, you did?
And made the team or whatever. I don't know what that means because they carry like 100 dudes on the roster.
Yeah.
So then I'm like 205 pounds or whatever. That was the first kind of off season that I worked out.
Okay.
So I was 205 kind of going in the summer. And their off season workouts start in the summer. So you got 3 options. You got 6 a.m., 12 or 6 p.m. for workouts, right? So now, even though I'm still kind of in high school, we haven't started the season yet. It's all off-season workouts.
Yep.
And I got a job pouring concrete. So here I am busting my ass, like pouring concrete. Like,
That's heavy work.
Oh my goodness.
Heavy.
Like I'm talking about, and I was the bitch too. I was the greenhorn. I was the guy, and we did decorative concrete and stuff. So we did a lot of like high-end driveways, garages, and stuff like that. So we're doing the stamp concrete,
Big heavy stamps, and
like random weird patios in the backyards where you have like 450-pound wheelbarrows that you're like wheeling down a hill, and like you just trying to keep up with it. So I got even skinnier. So here I was, like, probably went in the summer at like 205, 210. And I just kept getting skinnier, and I still remember my first off-season workout because I went to the 6 p.m. So I was up at 6, and depending on how many jobs we had for the day, I'd usually get cut before 4 or 5, go home, snack, like pass out on the couch for like a half hour, and then go try to do this workout. And the first workout I ever showed up to, Mac Reed, our strength coach at the time, he starts calling out the position groups. Okay, receivers over there, DBs over there, O-line over there, and D-line over there. And the second I started walking over with the D-line, he just started laughing, and everyone was making fun of me. Like, now here I am. Like, I'm the young guy, right? Like, you're with these old vets and stuff now, and I'm, like, scared shitless. These guys are laughing at me because, like, here I am looking like a receiver going hanging out with the D lineman, and they're like, what the hell is this guy doing? So anyways, like, did that all summer or whatever. It wasn't enjoyable.
What gym were you at? Did you go up to
We were at the Oval.
Okay.
We were at the Oval.
Yep.
The Olympic Oval. They got a nice you've probably been in there.
Yep.
Nice gym.
Yep.
Lots of weights, old equipment, but whatever, it gets you get it done. Dumbbells go up to 150, which I know you probably don't need, but I did at one point in my life.
Bullshit.
Not right now.
Bullshit.
Not right now. So season starts. I'm not a starter. I'm not dressing. We dress 50 guys at home games, 40 guys on away games.
Okay.
I'm still 200 pounds as
So you're
a D lineman.
working your butt off, but not
I'm
dressed.
scout team. I'm lead scout team.
Okay.
But even as skinny as I was, I could always kind of hold my own just because, I don't know, I had a bit of strength. I worked those types of jobs. I was pouring concrete all summer. I had a bit of fuck you attitude.
Yep.
Like, I have something to prove. I'm the underdog.
Yep.
I never got to go to the All-Star game. I never, got offered. I'm not on scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
I came from this small school. I always had something to prove. So then it was like, okay, I'm not playing, so I'm getting in the gym. And then I learned how to start eating. So first season, kind of goes through. I, start lifting. Okay, we're lifting. Probably got up to like 210, 215.
Mm-hmm.
Was feeling good, strong.
Yep.
And then the off season hit. And then 6 a.m. workouts. Well, they're actually technically 5:45 a.m. workouts.
Yep.
And guys like always talk about the 6 a.m. workouts. Like, you either love it or hate it, or if you either or, it's still a love-hate relationship, right? Because you get your ass kicked every single morning.
Yep.
And then you have to go to 3 or 4 classes after that, right? Like,
and be functional.
It's a grind, but for some reason, I loved it. I loved waking up at like 4:45, crushing some breakfast, a shake, getting down to the Oval because I was still living at home, right?
Yep.
I'm a Calgary guy.
Perfect.
I wasn't on scholarship, so parents weren't paying for me to stay in res and all that stuff.
Yep.
Get down there 5:45, and then we get to work. And then it was like, then I started learning how to eat. And once I learned how to eat, and I started crushing like 10,000 calories, by the next time, I think the coaches weren't always there. You'd see the strength coaches all the time.
Yep.
So Blake Nill, I think, it was a couple months before you kind of saw him or whatever. He's doing his thing or whatever. He comes in, and I'm 250 pounds 4 months later in April. Before spring camp.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And, you know, everyone thought I was on steroids or taking some or whatever. I said, no, dude. Like, I was, you know, I had the frame, obviously. Like, I had the frame, and I was just working my ass off and eating.
Crazy.
Like, I would eat.
Like, uncomfortable?
Like, uncomfortable as hell. There was this weight gain shake that I bought at Popeyes. It's called Muscle Juice. It was literally like when you mix it with milk. And I made sure I mix it with like 2% or homo milk. It was like around 1,400 calories for one shake.
Crazy.
So it's like 3 of those on top of the 4 or 5 meals that I eat a day.
Mm-hmm.
And the meals weren't anything to, you know, these weren't like light meals. Like I'm talking about 12 eggs and a pound of bacon for breakfast and a muscle juice shake. Like I was probably at like your caloric intake for the day, maybe 3,000 calories, if that.
Maybe.
I'd hit that before 8 a.m.
That's like half your breakfast.
Yeah, I'd hit that before 8 a.m. I think I was doing about 10 to 12,000 calories a day.
Crazy.
So yeah, so then the next year, whatever, I think I had, I think I dressed one game my second year, and they put me out on field goal, and I'm still like, you know, whatever, the skinny, tall DN that has zero experience and is not a good football player. And Stephon Charles, he was a stud for the Regina Rams. And the only reason I still remember his name is because he has now since had an 8-year NFL career and is making millions of dollars. Because this guy was like literally 6'8", 330 pounds, and he took a 5-yard run at me and just blew me up and blocked the field goal. That was my one and only play. Year 2. So just like,
wow.
Usually by year 2, if you're not playing, like, you're giving it up or whatever. And like, you know, we came in with a lot of dudes that, you know, either played right off the bat or like towards the end of their career didn't get much playing time or whatever, and they just hung it up. Or, you know, usually by year 2, if you're not playing, you kind of hung it up. For some reason, I stuck it out. Well,
based on you, like being a, you know, stubborn chip on, like needing to prove something to whoever. Yeah,
I wasn't there yet or whatever, you know, and it always took me time to get to where I needed to be. So year 3 came out on the scene, and I think the only reason I played that year was because our starting defensive end, he broke his arm. I was the backup, but he broke his arm like literally week 1.
Oh man.
And then I had a decent year, and then made some plays or whatever, but I was still kind of the unknown. Like, who's this number 90? Who's this Klassen kid or whatever? Where did he come from? And then year 4, I lit it up.
Cool.
I think I led the Can West in sacks and PBUs. I like, you know, I'm tall, so I like getting my hands up. So pass breakups are usually a stat for DBs. But when you, as a D lineman or whatever, you ever knock down the ball, they count as a PBU. Which is awesome because I'd rack up those stacks. And I actually had an interception as well my fourth year. And we went as far as the semifinals, so the Mitchell Bowl.
Is that okay? Yeah.
So you win your division. There's 4 divisions in CIS football, now called U Sports. So you got Can West, you got the Ontario League, the Quebec League, and the East League or whatever. So once you make it out of your conference, the conference championship, then you go, there's 2 bowl games. So conference plays conference, other conference plays conference. And then from there, the winners of that game play in the national championship. So we went out to McMaster. So this would have been my last college game. My wife always gives me a hard time for saying college, but I think it's because I played 7 years with a bunch of Americans, and they always say college. You're like, you went to college? So, oh, you know what I'm talking about. Shit's sake. So I went to university. This was my last university game, playing McMaster. Got our asses kicked. We had a great game on defense. I thought took too many penalties though, and couldn't get anything going on offense, and we lost our quarterback and all that stuff. So.
Just wasn't there.
It was shitty. So first 2 years lost in 2 Vanier Cups. Then my second 2 years where I was actually playing, lost in 2 bowl games. So that's why I like to say I'm the biggest loser. Because I'd always make it the distance, but always just come up short. Same with in high school. You know, made it to the semifinals, whatever.
Just right there.
And just lose out.
So that's how you end your university, college career?
Yeah. So I only burned 2 years of eligibility. So that's the crazy part. And people never like believe me when I told them this or whatever. And So let's fly. Sorry. Let's rewind. 1 year. So third year,
Yep.
they have this thing called the East-West Bowl.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yep.
Again, it's
Like an all-star for.
an all-star for college, university, CIS players.
Mm-hmm.
And my coach had put my name forward because at that point, I was starting to become a better football player.
Yep.
So what the coach does is he puts forward 2 names. The first 2 names automatically make the East-West roster. Then he gets to submit 4 other names, and then the coaches of the East-West teams kind of pick who they want or whatever.
Yep.
And there were so many defensive linemen that got submitted that even though he submitted my name, I didn't get a play on the team. So it wasn't a big deal at the time. I'm like, okay, whatever. It's the East-West bowl game, whatever. But usually the roster of the East-West bowl game is the roster that they invite to the National Combine.
Gotcha.
The National Combine being like the big...
For the CFL, kind of like showcase?
Yeah, the big showcase for the CFL, right?
Yep.
So here I am, finished my 4th year, and, the invites are starting going out for the combines, and I didn't get an invite. So here I am, like, thinking, like, okay, so I got screwed out of this.
And were you thinking about it? You have a great 4th year, and then all of a sudden you're thinking, man, I might be able to play pro.
Like, I had a better year than all the other defensive linemen on my team.
Yep.
But the other guys got the invite to the combine.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am thinking, like, okay, I kind of got,
Yep.
stripped again.
Yep.
Or whatever, so I was frustrated or whatever. But just by chance and my luck is this was the first year they ever decided to do regional combines. So they did a regional combine in Edmonton and a regional combine in Toronto, I believe. It was either Toronto or Montreal, something like that.
Yep.
So because there was just so much talent and that you can only have 60 guys at the national combine, they're like, well, let's keep a couple spots, or if anyone performs well at the regional combine, we'll make room for them at the national combine.
Yep.
So here I was. So I had to go to the regional combine, and I think it was the weekend
only?
of my birthday.
Okay.
In 2000, it would have been 2013.
Okay.
So it was around March 20th.
Yep.
The only reason I remember that date is because I remember it was like on my birthday. I was like, I got to give my birthday to
go work.
Go to bench press and jump as high as I can, whatever.
Go for a run.
So I show up to Edmonton. They got a nice field house there at their Commonwealth Stadium.
Yeah, old school.
I mean, it's funny, though, because the field they have is probably 50 yards, and they made us run like a 40-yard dash. So it's like they had to put up like a crash mat on the wall.
Yeah, because
you're trying to like
speed.
Run as fast as you can.
And stop.
But then you only got 10 yards to slow down. I'm like a train, man.
Once the wheels get going.
Once the wheels get going. Anyway, so went up to this national regional combine in Edmonton, and did pretty well. Did very well, because at this point I was 275 pounds, but could still run like a 220-pound man. And all the other defensive ends there were about 220, 230.
Yep.
But because we ran a 3-man front at Dinos, we were just naturally bigger on the line.
Yep.
Because we only had 3 defensive linemen instead of 4. So me as a DN being 275, I was 50 pounds heavier than the other guys.
Crazy.
But I ran faster than them. And then I was stronger than them. And then I jumped further than them. And then at the end of the day, I'm packing up. And I actually went to the bathroom. It was funny because I wasn't even in the huddle, because the coaches brought everyone in to kind of break things down and, announce the winners of the combine or whatever. And I wasn't even part of the huddle. I was grabbing my stuff. I was out of it. I was like, I did it. I was here, whatever.
Yeah.
Call me if you seen anything.
You know my number.
And then the guys started walking out, and I met a couple guys during the day, and we had some Dinos friends or whatever, and I was walking past the glass, and they started coming out, and then they said, yo, man, congrats. I said, what do you mean congrats? So, oh, man, you got the invite to the National Combine.
No way.
I said, sweet. So who do I got to talk to? So I go talk to, I forget who I talked to or whatever. They're like, yeah, so like you're leaving in 3-4 days. So I'm like, wait, so I have to do this all over again in Toronto in 3 days? And they're like, yeah.
Like it's taxing. It's
it's intense, man. Like it's an all, like especially the bench press, right? Because like it's 225. Like how many times can you do it?
Yep.
And
you remember your number?
I remember, the only reason I remember my number is because the coach counting it miscounted, or he didn't miscount. He just no counted a bunch of my reps because he thought I was bouncing or my hips bounced off the thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is actually funny, and I'll tell you why. Because 3 days later in Toronto, I benched 8 more reps than I did in Edmonton.
No way.
So they're like, man, this guy just improved by 8 reps in a week. I said, no, I actually like did shittier, and it was actually 2 less reps. It's just that coach in Edmonton didn't count my reps.
Because you're counting? You know full well what you're up to.
Yeah.
Like you're like,
because in Edmonton I did 29.
Okay.
I was pretty happy with it.
Yep.
But I only got 21 on paper. And I didn't know that until I stood up, because I knew how many I did. And he said, 21. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, you're bouncing. You're bouncing. I said, have you never seen a combine? Like, it's like, as long as you're moving the weight, it doesn't matter how you get it up. Who cares if you're bouncing a little bit? Like, go watch the NFL combine. These guys are like, bang, bang, boom. So, yeah, anyways, go out to Toronto and kind of did the same thing, man. Like,
you killed it?
Killed it. Absolutely killed it.
Awesome.
Not till the day. So the national combine was 3 days. So then you're like
torture
interviews and all the stuff. All the teams are there, and you're all put up in the same hotel. So then like you kind of have like like a secretary guy that represents all the players, and he kind of tells you like, okay, this team wants to meet you at this time. This team wants, and each team has like a different boardroom or a hotel suite booked out. And you get all dressed up.
So you're suited up and you're kind of going
suits and ties.
Yeah.
And you go to the interviews and stuff.
Like coaches, GMs, like
coaches, like the whole coaching staff,
like whoever.
Yeah, all the GMs, like, and sometimes even the owners show up, but not very often.
Yep.
And it's nerve-wracking, man. Like, imagine your first interview and you walk into like a boardroom and there's 12 dudes. And the first thing they do is just like some yappy like assistant special teams coach like, yo, man, you ever smoke weed? I'm like, no, I don't smoke that stuff. Even though, like, maybe I had at a party like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And then the second I said no, then it's just like, man, I know, like, you tell me you never smoke weed. And then they just keep hounding you, right? Because they're just trying to get a reaction. They're trying to get you more of a feel for your character, more so than like what you know about football. Like, in fact, I don't remember ever answering questions about football.
So straight character.
Just like, who is this guy?
Yep.
How's he gonna fit in? Like, is he a hard worker? What kind of family does he come from? All that type of stuff.
Yep.
So I remember at a meeting with Toronto. Yeah, that was nerve-wracking. Hamilton, I met with. I think I met with Winnipeg and Saskatchewan as well.
Yep.
And no, it was cool, man. It was a cool life experience, and like I'm glad I went through that, even though like I was pretty much shitting myself the whole time you're there.
So then,
because now when you do bench press, it's not just you and your buddies like hyping you up. Like, yeah, man, go, lift heavier, half faster. Now it's like a room of cameras, reporters, and like 50 friggin' coaches and support staff, and you're on a stage trying to do this shit.
So before you get to the combines, do you practice these things?
Oh yeah.
So
your whole off season is like leading up to that point. So the combines take place. This would have been end of March.
Okay.
And so from the second the season ended, like you're just running 40s, doing the T times, T tests. So every combine's the same. So you got the 40-yard dash and the bench press.
Yep.
That's what everyone wants to see. That's what everyone cares about, which is funny to me. But then you have your broad jump. Yep. So essentially 2 feet to 2 feet. Up. How far did you jump?
Yep.
Then you have you have the vertical jump. Yeah.
Whacking those like rulers.
Yeah. So they get your, you try to cheat it as much as you can. Like you're just like trying to like put your
like dislocate.
Dislocate down. My buddy cheated so well that they had to bring him back to like remeasure, but then he did it again. And like the coaches, he went and trained down in the South. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to call him out or whatever. He went and trained, like his agent. He was a big time player. So his agent paid for him to go down South. And what the coaches down South told him is they're like, wear sweatpants because they can't tell you if your knees are bent a bit if you're wearing sweatpants.
Good trick. So
he's in here. And he was bigger than me. And he ended up jumping like 3 inches taller. I'm like, there's no way you're jumping higher than me. But, it's you kind of cheat a little bit, right? So then you got the vertical, and then you have a couple more important ones. You have the L drill, which is kind of an agility drill where you run 5 yards up, 5 yards back to the same cone, but around to the right 5 yards
Yep.
and then all the way back. So that's your time on that.
Yep.
And then you have the T-test, or they call it the shuttle, and it's literally like you start in the middle, you go 5 yards that way, 10 yards back, and then 5 yards across the middle.
Time.
Right? So the first day we show up, you know, you do the piss test, drugs, all that type of stuff. Yep. Then the next day we did the bench press, the broad jump, the vertical, and had a bunch of meetings. Then on the Sunday, we did the 40, the T-test, and the L drill.
And then more meetings?
And then no more meetings. The meetings were always on Friday and the Saturday.
Yep.
And then we do like drills and stuff.
Yep.
Like actual football drills, and then you actually strap on pads and helmets and you go at it.
Crazy.
And talk about
the
like
best of the best, right?
But like the best of the best. Like here I am. I didn't even get an invite initially. So like everyone I'm going against, and like here we got Matt Sewell, like 6'11", all offensive lineman. I'm like, what the shit, man?
Where am I?
So here I am like going in these one-on-ones. But the reason I got drafted was the L drill, the shuttle, and the 40.
So how?
Because here was this 275-pound guy that was the 5th fastest at the combine. Not on the 40, but on the L drill and the L drill and the shuttle.
Crazy.
I was the 5th fastest out of all the DBs, all the running backs,
Crazy.
or whatever. And I think that's why I got drafted.
Who drafted you?
Montreal in the 4th round. But I probably, before that combine, I probably would have been undrafted.
Right.
So it all kind of just came together. And then, you know, after the combine, the draft is in May.
Okay.
And got the call. So at that point, I was gaining a bit of interest, but I was like an unknown.
The 4th round, like you got drafted, which is it's a super cool experience.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
So
then you
got the call. We're all at the stadium, so we're all hanging out with each other, whatever. And 3 of my buddies go in the 1st round, like 1st, 3rd, and 5th. And then it was like 2 hours later, Mike Klassen, number 34. You know? And but it was fun, man. And I'll still like that will go down as like probably one of the best nights ever. I remember like we were
super cool.
We were having a lot of fun.
Like is that the moment you say like, man, I've made it, or I'm about to make it, or I have a chance to make it? What were you thinking?
That's a chance to make it. Now it's just
now
like
it's work.
You made the final cut.
Yep.
You made, you know, you're interviewing for a job. You made that 3rd interview.
Gotcha.
That's what this is.
Okay.
But we're celebrating.
Yep.
I'm a professional athlete. Like whether I go to camp and fail and don't make the team, or whether I go to camp and make the team, I got drafted to CFL. That's a big deal.
And the percentage of any athlete going pro, you know, in hockey is like whatever 0.001%. Yeah. In any sport, it's like
it's still about 1%. It's 1% of the 1% of all the 1%.
Yeah, so
1% of high school players go play university. 1% of university ball players get the chance to play in CFL.
Yep. Crazy. So it's decent. Like I mean, we had a really good team, and we have a lot of guys that get drafted out of the Dinos program, and a lot of guys is like 5 to 6 a year, and we have one of the best teams in the in the thing. Yep. So you played 7 years for Montreal?
7 years.
So your entire career with one team?
No.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. So I played 7 years in the CFL. So yeah. So I get out to, well, before I even say all that, I didn't even want to go. I wasn't going to go.
You didn't want to play ball?
I only played 2 years of Dinos. I had 3 more years of eligibility left, and I had 3 more years of school left.
Right.
Because I was that guy, you know, I always worked part-time, so I'd only take like 3 or 4 classes a semester. So I was behind on schooling, and I had 3 years of eligibility left. And I felt like I was just getting the point where I was going to be one of the best university players.
Yep.
So I wanted at least 1 more year. So my plan in my head, I was coming back to school. So I went and got a job at Earl's Tin Palace.
Oh, no way.
And
doing what?
Actually as a bartender or server or whatever. And then they were asking me to be a doorman and stuff for the Lilac Festival and all that other bullshit.
With Tin Palace, that was like,
yeah, it was cool. That's where I hung out. And that's like, you know, I had a couple buddies working there. I was like, hey man, can I get an interview? And it was funny because I interviewed with them like literally the morning after this draft party, and I was like hungover as shit and whatever, and
glazed over.
We actually so the night we got drafted, obviously partied our balls off.
Yeah.
and City TV wanted us on at 6 a.m.
The four of you jokers?
The four of us, yeah. And so we got up. My buddy slept on my lawn because we had all just planned on sleeping at my place because we had to get up so early. And my mom's like, Steve was sleeping on the lawn because we didn't get home till like 3-4 in the morning, and then like it was like a quick nap or whatever. And I swear when I drove home that night, I shouldn't be admitting this, but I don't think I should have drove. And we rolled up to City TV just like reeking of booze, and they were like even questioning us like, are you guys okay? And we had coffee mugs and it was just like filled with water and Gatorade, and we're just chugging it. I would love to dig up that interview because knowing that I was still drunk in that interview, it just makes it that much more funny, right?
Crazy.
You're trying to keep a straight face and stuff. So yeah, anyways, so I get a job at Tim Palace and I go into Coach Nill's office. I'm like, hey coach, like what do you think? Like, I'm not gonna go out to camp. I'm coming back. He's like, yeah, no, it's great. Like, we'd love to have you back. Like, I want you back, but you should go to camp and get that experience. I was like, really? Like, I'm going to miss out like on a whole summer of revenue. And obviously university summers are 4 months long, right? Yep. But like this training camp's the whole month of June. Kind of thing, right? And if you don't start working till July, then like, are you even going to get a summer job? All that other stuff, right?
So you were thinking like the real life things, like having a job and making money. I
want to make some money and continue working out. Why do I want to go? But I go to training camp and go through that and deal with all that bullshit. And if I'm not going to be there, he's like, Klaus. He used to call me Klaus. You should go out there. You'll be that much better and whatever. Bullshit. So I was like, okay, fine. So I went out. Me and Steve Limbala, Mike Edom, we got drafted from the Dinos to Montreal. So it was nice because we kind of all went out there together and, you know, had big plans on living together and doing all that stuff, which got thrown out the window. So I went out to training camp and actually had a good camp. And
surprise yourself? Like when you got there, was your heart in it? Or were you?
I don't know if my heart was ever in football, but it was like you
need to prove.
It was just like, yeah, I wanted to do it. I wanted to prove that I could do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I really loved football. Like half the time I was playing football, I'll admit it, like I was scared shitless. Yeah. So I get out there, and now you're playing with all these American dudes. Like NFL guys are coming up. Like
it's different.
Here's Anthony Calvillo, and you've been watching him your whole life, winning all these great cups and stuff, right?
Yep.
And we went. So we got brought in. You go to the hospital for a medical. They put you up in the Marriott. It was sweet for like 2 nights. Awesome. So you're hanging out. You're like hanging out. All this meals paid for. You're starting to meet some
slippers.
Guys on the team. Like there's giant dudes, like guys that like literally straight out the WWE like looking dudes, right?
Which is crazy because you're at 6'5", 6'6", 270-ish, big dude.
Yeah.
And you still think that there's guys out there that are like, oh, that guy.
But that's the other thing is like you never know. Like I always think of myself. I never thought of myself as this big 280-pound guy. The only time I ever felt big was when I'd see myself in photos in that.
Right.
So yeah, I'm like looking at these guys. I'm like, holy shit! Like even though they're like maybe I'm bigger than them, I'm like, this guy's jacked. This guy's strong. Even though like I'm probably just as strong
right
as
there.
them.
Yeah.
Because in college you were always like one of the bigger and stronger guys. Now like everyone's big and strong.
Yeah. So that box is checked when you go
Everyone's
pro.
big, strong, and fast.
Yeah.
So now it's just like, okay, what the hell is this place? So then did the medicals. I think on Saturday night they bust us out to Lennoxville. Bishop's University.
Okay.
And that's where training camp was going to be held. And like it felt like prison, man. Like it was like it might as well have been a prison bus taking you to prison. I think I would have had more fun and like at an actual prison, dude, because training camp was no freaking joke. Like I have PTSD from prison. Like the only reason I'm happy of retiring is because I don't have to deal with training camp
crazy anymore. It's that.
Oh, dude. So like
that and more.
So we showed up on the Saturday and like get off the bus. It's like, hey, everyone on the field, we're doing conditioning test. It's just like conditioning test. Like I kind of knew about the conditioning test because you kind of talk to guys around the who's been in Montreal. Oh, they have a conditioning test. What's a conditioning test? 300-meter shuttles. So essentially from the end zone, from the goal line to the 50 and back 3 times. Okay, that's great. That's not that hard. But depending on your weight, you had to come in under a certain time.
Oh God.
Okay, that's fine or whatever. I get a run with the lineman. I made the cut by like 2 pounds. So I was like one of the lighter guys of the fattest group, right?
You almost said that straight faced.
Yeah. Like it was like, you know, the DBs and wide receivers, you know, they had to be under 45 seconds. The linebackers and running backs and quarterbacks had to be under 50 seconds. And then like
big boys,
everyone else had to be under 55 seconds. And then the big boys had 60 seconds, right?
Yep.
But you had to do that 3 times and you only had a 90-second break. That was the problem. Like, it's easy to do that once. Oh, 50 seconds? That's not hard. And then the second time,
the recovery.
Like, okay, I'm dying. And the third one, like, I'm not lying, dude. We had an ambulance show up because the one guy had to get carried off, oxygen on his, like,
no weight down, man down.
But I absolutely crushed it. Like, I was beating these guys by, like, 100 yards each time. I was coming in at the wide receiver times. So I think right there and then, that was kind of like the start of my destiny with the Alouettes, because that meeting, I hadn't even met any of the coaches yet, but the coach came into the meeting, and here's like 98 professional football players, and he came up to me and he put his arm on my shoulder. He said, "Man, that was good fucking work today." Like before we even met anybody. So it kind of made me feel pretty good. So like this was again kind of just my mentality, like, you know, somebody's watching. I'm gonna just put my best foot forward and kind of crush this thing, and I did. So that was the day before training camp. Then you get in training camp, man, and it's like 5:45 on your door, like and you're on the field at like 7:30. You'd be lucky if you were off the field by noon 30.
Crazy.
And then it's just like, then you're right into meetings, and then you're in a meal, and then you're in meetings, and you're lucky if you're out of meetings by like 10:30 at night.
Gross. And
then it's like that for 3 weeks straight. But it is like everyone's trying to make a team, man. These aren't your buddies out here. These are your like arch nemesis. These are your competition.
They're taking your job.
So you always have to be like on fire. By day 2, I lost both toenails, both big toenails. Feet were bleeding. Shoes fell apart. Like
crazy, man.
I've never felt shittier in my life. Like whenever you're not on the field, you're sitting in ice baths. Ice on every part of your body. You're bruised up. Your fingers are all like jammed in every which direction.
Crooked.
Like, looking like this. It's just like, what the hell is this, man? How do you even play a season?
And you don't even love football.
No, but like I'm sticking it out, and I don't know why. Like 2-a-days, right? So Montreal did legit. They did a power practice, they called it. So they had a 2.5-hour practice without pads on. But you'd still like hit each other. You're still doing all the things. You're just wearing a helmet. And then like just as it gets to be about 40,000 degrees outside, around like 10:30 in the morning, they're like, "Hey, go put the pads on." And then you put the pads on and you do the exact same thing. You even go through the warm up.
Crazy.
I'm like, why? Why couldn't you do like a 2-hour practice and like an hour practice with the pads on or whatever? Like literally, like you'd go through the individual drills, you go through the one-on-ones, like, and one-on-ones are the worst. Anyone who's watching this as a football player knows what one-on-ones are, and like unless you're a receiver DB, like you have fun with that. But lineman one-on-ones suck. It's you and another guy, you and an old lineman, and you're trying to get the quarterback, and it's just like an all-out freaking battle. But there's like 20 minutes of that, and you're just doing it over and over again. And then an hour later, you put on the pads and you do it again. And then that times 3 weeks with a couple preseason games mixed in. Oh, my God.
Torture, man.
Camp was brutal.
Torture.
You know, so then after camp, you all get sent back to the Marriott at the hotel. So then it's like you're either making the team, you're getting on a bus to go downtown to where you're staying, or you're hopping on a flight out of there. And I made the team.
Crazy.
So I didn't go back to school.
And you were okay with that? Once you realize, you're like, man, I accomplished something. I'm staying here and I'm gonna keep going through it.
After the amount of work and what I went through, there was no way I wanted to be a rookie for another year.
Right. So
I just was like, man, I made the team.
I'm in.
And like I actually had a decent camp, and I kind of knew what my place would have been on the team. And as a rookie Canadian, I played all 18 games.
Cool, man.
Which doesn't happen, you know, especially from a guy who just within 4 months kind of just came off out of nowhere onto the radar. And then, all my friends, a lot of guys that had better university careers, I think I ended up having like a better pro career than them. Not better as in like I'm a better player, just like, longevity, stay healthy, all that type of stuff. So.
Well, it's crazy because now that you're saying all the timelines, like you start late, like everything's late, you start kind of playing ball late, you play 2 years of university and all of a sudden you're there, which seems like a quick.
Yeah, it always took me like 2 to 3 years to be like good at the level that I was playing at, But I will be the first to admit that transition from university to pro was a lot easier than high school to university.
Yeah.
Like university to pro, like I was able to play right away and contribute, and I was on all specials, and I actually played on defense, which is pretty rare for like Canadians to do. Usually Canadians are kind of put in positions where they're always special teams players or O-linemen, stuff like that. There's only 7 Canadians that ever get a start on a CFL team. Just because, I mean, it's not that we're shittier football players. It's just like when you can choose from a pool of 350 million people who die, live, breathe football, or like a pool of 30 million people that hardly anyone gives a shit about football. Yeah. Naturally, there's just going to be a lot more talent coming out of this bigger pool.
For sure.
So, yeah, you're always competing with Americans and you're competing with the other Canadians to be one of those Canadian starters.
Those little, because there's not a lot of spots.
Yeah.
So Montreal, so where did your CFL, you don't go into every team, but like where did you play throughout your years?
So Calgary and Ottawa. So Montreal, 4 years.
Okay.
And then they did a little GM switch, showed up to get my medical, and they failed my medical. I was like, this is fucking bullshit. I didn't fail my medical. I just did all the stuff he wanted to do.
Yep.
Oh, well, we have reason to believe, because you were getting treatment all off season, that you're not ready to go for camp. I said, yeah, because you were paying for my treatment all off season, so I'm gonna get a massage.
We're gonna get fixed.
Like I'm going for treatment every 3 days because I'm beat up not only from the season but like from working out and training hard. Like you could always, like a regular human being working at a desk all day would love to get treatment 3 times a week if you can afford it and if you can afford the time, right?
Agreed.
So I don't know, they were kind of pulling a fast one on me. So I flew all the way out to Montreal in my 5th year, and here I was like becoming the man kind of out of Montreal, like kind of laid my roots down, was a key player on defense and all that stuff. Yep. And then they just cut me. So that night went home. I started getting the horn with people I knew around town. I'm like, yo man, get me in with the Stamps. But they had just all made, like, the numbers were already there or whatever.
Yeah, because they've planned everything their off season. They're at the start of the camp pretty much.
Yeah, because you're limited to numbers.
Place.
You can't just keep bringing in dudes. Yeah. There's a limit of guys, and then by like week 2, you have to get down under certain guys and keep getting lower. Yeah. So like, hey, what's it gonna take to get in with Calgary and stuff? And lucky for me, like they had a draft pick that was kind of unhealthy or something, and they're hoping. I don't know what happened, but 3 days later, I was in Calgary.
Cool.
And I was like, hell yeah, man. Like, I'm going to finish out my career here.
Hometowns,
this is where I'm from. Yeah. Like, my friends are stoked. Like, I'm going to build a name for myself. Yep. Because now I'm going to be that Calgary Stampeder. Right? And this is the city I'm living in. Yep. Built a name in Montreal, but who gives a shit? I'm not going to be there when I'm done. Right? Like, business connections, all that stuff. That's what's going on in my mind. Yep. And then they just fucking dicked me around for a bit. I only played 8 games and, kind of promised that I'd play in the Grey Cup. We went out to Ottawa to play Toronto in the Grey Cup in 2017. Okay. And I thought I was going to be playing up until 2 days before the Grey Cup. I was on the active roster. And then all of a sudden, kind of game day comes around, wasn't on the active roster. I've never kind of been mad about stuff that's happened to me in football, but I was like pissed. That one got you. Like, all my family was coming out to see this game and whatever, and I didn't get the call up to play on the day. Yep. So I was pissed, man. And then we were by far the better team. I was like, hey, whatever. At least I'm gonna get an extra 18 grand out of the deal and a big ring. Yep. And then we lost the game, man. Like, I don't know if you remember that game, but it was a shit show of a game. Bunch of snow, Shania Twain on a freaking dog sled coming in hot. Yeah. And I was drunk, dude. I was real drunk, like on the sideline. Like I was just drinking. I was pissed off and like found out Buddy had a bottle of Crown in the locker room. So I kept going back and like filling up my Gatorade bottle, and I'm like wasted on the sidelines. Like, and then like, you're happy. I'm in the locker room filling up my bottle with Crown, and there's plastic all over the lockers. I'm like, yeah, they put it in ours because they know we're walking out with this thing. They probably did it in both locker rooms.
Yeah, just to get ahead of it.
Yeah. I'm like, hell yeah, man. Like, we're partying tonight, but I'm still kind of pissed off. Now I'm drunk. I'm on the sidelines. And then all of a sudden that big, like, fumble, and then Toronto takes it back, and then they had a bit of momentum, and then we throw a pick six, and then all of a sudden game's over, and we lost. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And
you're lit.
I was pissed, dude, and I was lit, so I was bawling my face off.
Oh, you were a mess.
And I've never cried over a loss ever.
Crazy.
Like, we're talking, like, I've played now 60 games, done all this in football. I mean, done this all in high school, in college. Like, I've lost a bunch of big games, but I think it was because I was drunk.
Yeah, totally.
And I was just like, bawling my eyes off because I'm like, screw this, I'm done. Like, I'm done with the team, I'm done with the CFL,
it's over.
Whatever.
Yep.
So went back to town and started working at strEATS. We had just opened our first location up and down in Braeside.
Okay.
And I told my dad, I said, I just want to start like really learning the family business or whatever. So I started my training at this strEATS location. And this was like, I kind of helped with the marketing and actually come up with the name strEATS and all that other stuff.
Cool.
But, the location was there, and I started working there. And at that point in my career, I was done. I was done with football. I'm like, Calgary doesn't want to sign me back.
Yep.
I'm done.
You're like...
No, I was working like full-time at strEATS. I was still training in the mornings because it's like, we'll see what free agency brings. Because, Dickinson, head coach at the time, and our D-line coach, Corey Mace, they'd kind of said all the right things. Like, yeah, we'll bring you back or whatever. But for some reason, Huffnagel, he just... No go, or he didn't like me or whatever. I didn't show enough. Understandable, whatever. I wasn't their guy. That's fine. That happens. But I didn't want to have to move away to play football again, man. Like, it's tough moving away to go play a sport and, like, to be in a new locker room for the third time.
Yeah.
So anyways... was working at strEATS, flipping tacos and doing all
learning
that
the
stuff.
business,
Yeah,
just
learning the business, managing it a little bit,
Yep.
and doing all that. And then my agent phoned me and said he could get me into Ottawa. And I was like, yeah, Ottawa, that'd be nice. I've always kind of really liked that city. They got a sweet stadium. Okay, whatever. What are they offering? Fuck all. Nothing. Like, here I am from Montreal making like good money. Like, I mean, everyone like harps the CFL for like being shit money, and it is compared to other pro leagues. But like the reality is, like, for a 25-year-old to go make 6 figures plus,
it's money.
Working for 6 months out of the year, and it comes in that fast, it's good
real.
money.
It's real. Yep.
But like when you're a rookie, and now you like, even my first year, I made $45,000. Like, shit all. But I'm 21 years old. That's the most money. I was like going to the bar. I was just
and
like,
6 months.
Yeah, in 6 months, right?
Really.
So you make it real fast, and that's why I got into a couple other, investments, is because you make money so fast, you let it accumulate. Versus you make that same amount of money over a whole year, you don't save nearly as much because you get in tune with that lifestyle and stuff. Yep. But when you're football, you're so busy. Yep. And you're trying to live as cheap as possible and all this stuff that you actually save money.
You put it in the bank. So Ottawa, go?
Yeah. So Ottawa, like nothing or whatever. I'm like, whatever. Like,
did you think you had to prove something? So you went?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So here I am again. Like, now I'm 6 years into my career, or going in my 6th year, and I'm a rookie again, man. I'm walking in a new space. I knew one guy on the team.
That's it.
And show up, and I'm sitting in the general manager's office, and I see the depth chart. So all the time in the ops office, they always usually have this huge like magnetic whiteboard with magnets, and they just have like every guy's name kind of set up a thing. Yeah,
like moving them around if they have to. Like, okay.
And then I see my name, and it's just like, decent Canadian D tackle from Toronto. I knew his name. Daryl Wadd, his name was. He ended up being a great friend of mine. And then we had Ettore Latanzio. He's just this like Tasmanian. He's the strongest dude, but he's just like 6 feet tall. I actually talked to him the other day. He's just like
awesome.
He'll like bench like 500 pounds, squat like 1,000 pounds, and he's just like this Italian little meatball. We call him Gabagool, I think. That's what we were calling him. You know, and so you got Daryl Wadd, Latanzio, and then me. And I'm like, shit, like I'm really coming in to fight to be like in the same situation as Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
But with something to prove, man, like it just somehow worked out again and turned on. And I had an awesome camp and ended up winning that starting position, man.
Crazy.
And that was the first time I ever started in my whole career. And I started all 17. I played in 17 games that year. I think they rested me the last game because we had already secured the playoff spot.
Yep. Crazy.
We had won the East. So we won the East, and then we go play Hamilton.
Who's your quarterback?
Trevor Harris.
Okay.
We had a great team, man. We had a great offense. We had Trevor Harris, William Powell as a running back, Deontay Spencer, who was one of our receivers and kick returners, who's now lit it up for the Denver Broncos the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Greg Ellenson, Brad Sinopoli. Like, we had an awesome team. Henry Burris was still, he was doing
around?
the CTV thing, but he was around to kind of like hype us up and stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome, like veteran O-lineman. And then defense, we just had a ragtag group of guys. Like, I swear, everyone was new on the team, but we knew how to work. Coach Noel Thorpe, and all we did was run, dude.
Cool.
And we weren't the biggest, we weren't the baddest, but we were the fast. We were just like a pack of wolves, man.
Cool.
Pack of hyenas. Like,
crazy.
just like there was a tackle across field, and all 12 guys would be on top of the guy. Like, it was that type of year, man. And we had fun, and we did all these big things. Made the Eastern Final.
Yep.
Kicked Hamilton's ass, even though everyone had them ahead of us.
Yep.
And then guess what? And then all of a sudden we're in Edmonton playing Calgary for the Grey Cup. But this time I got to start.
Awesome.
And it was awesome. We lost the game, obviously, in the shittiest conditions ever. So I don't know if you remember that game, 2018. The field was super slippery.
Who was Calgary's? And the only reason I say quarterback because that's just kind of
Bo's been the guy for the last
sorry.
7 years.
Yeah.
So we show up to Edmonton and it's nice out. Like, it's warm all week. So we're like, yeah, like this is awesome. We're practicing outside. We're doing all these sweet things, whatever.
Yep.
Then we show up. It would have been like literally the day before the game. Or we went and practiced on it on Thursday. And they had just cleared it off. No, this might have been the Saturday. Regardless, we show up like literally the day before the game, and the field is just ice.
I remember, yeah.
Because they never cleared the snow off until like a couple days before. So the snow was just like all week just melting down into the turf.
Yep.
But then it got cold. It got cold the day before the game, and then it was cold on the day of the game.
So they could clear the top, but everything was like in the turf. So
so there's no snow on the thing, but it was just like rock hard.
Yep.
So I think I went out there with my cleats on, and for about 5 minutes I was like, there's no way. So then they have these turf shoes or whatever.
I remember them
talking like a bunch of like little.
Yeah. They were showing it on the broadcast. They were obviously talking about shoes, and they were showing the different.
I forget the slang we always used for them, but they look like you're wearing moon boots. Like, they're just these gigantic like things with these rubber, like little rubber nipples on them. That's what it looks like, right? So you get a little bit of traction. But then the game started, and the sun went down, and then it just turned into like total ice, man. And it was just a shit show. Like, we probably would have had better, like, if you would have just had a hockey arena out there, it would have been the same effect.
That's slippery.
Like, every time I got on my stance, you'd like slip. You miss tackles. Nobody could cut. Like, it was ridiculous, man. It was so shitty.
Yeah.
Like, the NFL probably wouldn't have played that game. They probably would have been like, no, we're going to do something, bring out a bunch of Herman Nelsons, get the heaters going, big tarp, warm it up, whatever, right? But
send you guys out there and
we played in it. We lost the game. It was a good game, but again, it was like one of those things. It was just totally whichever way it went. Like, okay, this guy missed a tackle because it was slippery. This guy made a touchdown because it's slippery. I think things just kind of went their way a bit more. We lost the game. Whatever. Wasn't mad. So I was just so happy that I got to play and start in a Grey Cup. Like, it was a big deal.
Yeah. No, like, not many people can say that.
Miss out on like the ring, miss out on the extra bonus check, whatever. I had a shit ton of family that came out. We had an after party at this pool bar, and I snuck like 16 people in there.
Sounds like your move.
Yeah. I didn't even sneak it in. I just kept buying more bracelets, right? You had to buy bracelets, a VIP party. It was like free food and booze all night. And I think my GM and one of the owners came out to me at the night. They're like, how many fucking people do you have here? It was my dad's birthday too. So we're lining up shots for my dad.
So, and was that 1 year there or what happened?
So then 17, yeah. No, sorry, that was 18. And then signed a 1 year deal that year and obviously proved myself, started or whatever. So now it's just like, okay,
it's on.
I love Ottawa. Made a name for myself, you know, like starting to do big things with the media because I was a starter and like they just liked my personality at that point. You know, I was growing up the mullet and stuff.
Swagger actually had a funny story about you doing the weather.
Oh yeah.
Part of your.
So we got, so in 18, me and my roommate, we became, it was funny. So he actually ended up being one of my groomsmen at my wedding. That just happened a year ago. But the only reason we became good friends was because I didn't have a vehicle out there and he had his car out there. And in Ottawa, training camp was done in town. So we were staying at a hotel like way down the ways. And you could have waited for the bus all the time, but then you wouldn't have had that extra nap time. So I was just always asking Richie Leone, he's the punter. Say, hey man, what time we leaving? Like, and I just started hopping in his car with him, like to go to the facility. Because I didn't want to have to leave like as early as the bus left, and coming back after, I wanted to leave earlier. So that's how I got to know Richie. Then we ended up living together, and then people just liked us and called us this dynamic duo. They called us Big and Rich, and then all of a sudden we had a show on Evan Solomon, and then all of a sudden we were doing the news and the weather on CTV. And then we were cooking up with Henry Burris, doing breakfast and Viking costumes. So that was all in 18. And then in 19, when I went back there, we went and did the weather on Halloween, and I was dressed as Hulk Hogan. And like literally had the mullet, made the shirt,
talking like it, all of it, pointing
spandex like on national television. Richie's running around like Forrest Gump, like he's just running around. Oh, it's hilarious.
Funny. So did you play that?
So yeah, anyways, so I'd only signed a 1 year deal in 18, which is the smartest thing I did. Because now I'd started,
proved
whatever.
yourself, like it all worked.
And it was like, I'm going to sign a contract. I loved it out here, whatever. And phoned up my agent, and I was just like, hey man, like, I think I'm going to be here no matter what. Like, I really appreciate you, but I don't need your services anymore. And I fired my agent because I'm like, man, this guy's sitting back collecting like thousands of dollars. When I think I could do the same thing. And he was like kind of warned me against it. And he was like, what do you think you're going to get? And I told him this, and he said I was crazy and stuff like that. Anyways, ended up getting what I thought I could get, which was decent money. And I actually texted my agent like before I signed it. I was like, hey man, do you think you can take a look at this? We became friends or whatever, you know, and I made him some decent money, and he took a look at it. He said, man, like good job and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, see, like I would have had to pay him $3,000 to do the same thing, right? So, signed a 2 year deal. Went back out there in 18, or no, this would have been 19 then. Frick, man, it's already 2021. Holy shit,
madness.
So went back out there, and you know, was the starter, was the guy, whatever. And our GM decided to get rid of our whole offense, and we just had a shit year. We won 3 games. Our defense was on the field for about 75 plays a game, and I was just getting so beat up, man. And I even told our coach at one point, I was like, man, by week 9, week 10, out of a 20-week season, everyone's going to be in the freaking hospital, man, if this shit keeps up. Because our offense literally couldn't get anything going. Like, they were 2 and out on every play. It was just like, whatever, turnover. Defense out there for 6-7 plays. Offense goes out 2 minutes later. We're back on the field. Like, it was absolute craziness.
Wild. And
I think if we had the same team we had the year before, I don't think I hung it up. Like, I think I would have made it for the rest of the season. But by week 9, week 10, my back was getting so bad.
You're done.
I was popping anti-inflammatories like crazy. Then my stomach got all bad because of the high test anti-inflammatories. And I like went into my head coach's office in tears. And I said, I never thought after a game, actually, one time I went in tears to talk to the doctor, because I knew if I told them what I had been doing to like try to stay ready,
to manage it,
that was the end of my career. And sure enough, it was. Because I was just like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm pissing blood now. I'm doing all the wrong things just to like be able to get out of bed, man,
Yep.
as like a human being. Like you felt like a 98-year-old
Crazy.
man.
Crazy.
Like it was just bad. And football was rough, tough, man.
Yeah, man. It's crazy from, the year before getting, playing in the Grey Cup, huge accomplishment, pinnacle.
Yeah.
And then, fast forward X amount of months later and you're in a broken state. Like,
yeah. And I signed a 2-year deal, man.
Yeah.
I was excited. Like I would have been playing this year still. Like,
yeah.
Finally kind of built that
Yep.
name. It took me 6 years to become the starter.
Well, like you said earlier, it just took you a little bit longer to kind of to become, to play at that high level.
And I had great production, and it wasn't like I was just good because I was on that team. Like I was good if you put me against all the other guys on the team. Like I was never the best football player. I'll always admit that. I was a shit football player.
Yeah.
But I was always a good enough athlete to make up for not knowing what the hell I was doing out there.
So good, man. So it ends, obviously not in a great way, but you can come back home to Calgary and you're in a pretty, good situation, friends, family, and then you got an interesting marketing mind and business mind, so you kind of find your way like pretty quick after it's over.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of knew, and I had, after I kind of was hurt and kind of hung them up, like I wanted to be out there for the rest of the season. I just didn't want to abandon the team, even though it was shit and we weren't making the playoffs.
Yep.
And, I'd already talked to my dad. My dad's been he's always been kind of fighting for me to not give up the football, but he's always kind of been like, when are you going to be done? So
let's go. I got a project.
Out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the second, I told him that I was done, he had his guys make me sign a contract. Okay, this is your job responsibilities and stuff, and start training and start looking at stuff. And,
Cool.
And whatever. And so that was during the season still. And they came out, and I had asked the coach actually to, I was just like, hey man, like I'm going to retire. You think I could dress for like warm-ups one last time or whatever? Yeah. And they agreed to that. They asked the league that to make sure I didn't count towards the numbers, right? I was just going to come out and do a little bit pregame stuff. So came out, and my whole family flew out. My parents and my now wife, then fiance, came out, and
cool.
It was cool, man. So got to put on the pads, and by this time I'd already lost about 30 pounds. So like shit wasn't even fit me anymore. It's hilarious. Like I got pictures from that night, and I was just like, holy shit, my legs are skinny. Because like the second I knew I was done, I was just like, man, like I didn't have to eat. I was like trying to get the weight off, right, to relieve the pressure in my back and my hip and stuff. So I did all that, one last hurrah, and they kind of put my name up on the board, like,
cool, man.
Which was cool, and a nice little send away.
And,
And then it was right to work. I think I wasn't even home. I bought an old Cadillac out in Ottawa.
Yeah, you did. I've seen pictures of that beast.
So I had to drive it home
all
like
across
the
the
middle
country?
of November. Yeah, 1988.
This thing's pretty mint.
Brom de Elegance. Yeah. So here I am, like trying to get all my stuff and 2 sets of tires in this car. My cousin actually flew out. He partied with me for a couple of days, and then I was just like, hey man, you want to drive with me? Like it's probably gonna take us 3 or 4 days, which it didn't. It took us 2 days because we just like friggin' booked it. Made it all the way to Fargo the first night. So yeah, we did. I think it was 3,600 kilometers, and we did it in. I think it was total. We did in like 40 hours or something. Wow. Like including like a stopover, a little
crazy
bed and breakfast.
Just driving.
Whatever. Just straight, man. Ran in some shit weather. Like,
gross.
Just in this old Cadillac. It was hilarious. So yeah, and then I was back home, and then it was like straight to work. I was a regional manager. I did all my training at another one of the restaurants. We run a couple concepts. You know, my dad got his start. He started Joey's Only back when he was like 21 years old, right here on 17th Ave. Him and my mom was front of house, he was back of house, throwing fish all day.
So it's in you.
Great fish and chips. And then had quite a bit of success. Actually, they were struggling, man, and I like kind of, nudged my parents for their full story, and my dad doesn't talk much, but my mom kind of let me know, and she's like, we were struggling for like 6-7 months, and like they're ready to hang it up. And then Gilchrist, remember Gilchrist?
The guy that reviews restaurants,
the reviewer for the
John
Calgary
Gilchrist.
Herald. So he happened to stop by, unbeknownst to my parents.
At strEATS.
No, Joey's.
Okay.
He stopped by and I guess wrote a raving review about, great fish and chips. Who would have thought? Found in Calgary, Alberta, whatever. Young couple, whatever.
Oh, this is like way back.
This was 1985.
Okay.
And then the next day, I guess my dad was working and my grandma was serving. My mom still had a day job at this time, at this point, and my grandma was working. And I guess like the place just got shit packed. And like there's a lineup around the door. My dad's phoning my mom like, "Get your ass down here," because usually she'd like go shower and take a load off before she comes serve for the night. And my dad's like, "No, you got to get down here now." My grandma just like is so overwhelmed, hands my mom like the bill, the ticket thing, the book, the receipt book. And my mom's just like, "What the hell?" And I guess from there it was just like that every day for a while. And then they opened another location. Then by 91 they decided to franchise, and then by 2001 they opened their 100th restaurant, and then expanded to the States after that, opened another dozen or so stores in the States. Then 2008 happened and wiped off all the American restaurants that they had, and then I don't know, the brand was just kind of old. It needed a little revitalization, and not enough was kind of done to save it. It was just like, it was a place where old people go to eat. So then they came up with Joey's Urban, they called it. And that's where we got onto the tacos and poutines and that type of stuff.
Which then
turns into strEATS. Joey's Urban was cool, but there's too much confusion. It was like, what is this, a furniture store? The name wasn't there. It was still a Joey's. There's still confusion with the Joey Tomato side of things. All that stuff. Okay, what are we going to do? Let's call it strEATS. So then, a quick paint job, signage, that type of stuff. Okay, now we have strEATS. So we turned a couple of the Joey's Urbans into strEATS. And then they started having a little more success, and then we started selling strEATS. And then that's kind of at that same time when we changed the Joey's Urban to strEATS, that's kind of right when I started getting involved and then helping out with that. And then as of last year, I was on full board, and now we're doing big things.
Yeah, it's really
trying to do big things.
It's really cool. And now that I know that you're an artist, it kind of makes a little more sense how you operate, like where your brain goes on the marketing side, because you're a super creative dude. So, when you say you're helping out, pushing things around, I see it from the outside, with what's happening on the marketing side, even the room design. So it all makes more sense to me now that I have the full backstory.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm definitely more... Is it right brain or left brain? Right brain's the artist, right?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Anyways.
But yeah, like I just, as far as marketing, we're starting to do all these funny videos. And it's funny awesome. Because I actually like pulled some analytics. I think I was talking to you about this. And like, it's hard to tell which metric's the most important because, we run ads for a month. And like when you pull sales before that and after that, you don't know what's successful because there's such a long range. But I like to see like, okay, are people engaging, and how cheap can I get them to engage with my content? And when you arrange it from that, it's all the videos that come up first, right? The videos are the most successful. So it's just like, sometimes we're not even selling something. Sometimes there's not even images of the food. It's just us doing dumb stuff. Like I like throwing food at one of my employees, and that's like this thing we do. And like, it's hilarious and people like it. Then you engage them more as fans. But fans are customers, and that's my thinking. Is just like, okay, let's build a fan base. A fan base is a customer base.
Yeah, it's like, and they believe in your brand, the humor and the the product's good too, right?
And we just like to have fun, and I mean, I like doing dumb shit, so
it works out really. So you're in your place, like your location's down on when the world comes back to normal. And that street's bumping down 11th Ave, 11th and 5th.
11th and 5th,
Right by CPU.
Yeah.
Streets is down there.
Singapore Sam's, Singy Sam's, the late night, man. We'll be the late night hub, where they come from Hudson's, Commonwealth, Craft, whatever. Like,
it's going to go.
Drunk as hell, come get some tacos.
So, you have a different option down there instead of going to Sam's. I could keep on talking, but we should put a bow on this. The name of the show is the Calgary Sessions. The last question, the only question I have scripted is, when I say Calgary, where does your head go? And what I'm just asking every guest. Yeah, essentially that. When I say Calgary, where does your head go? I'm really interested to hear from everybody.
Yeah, and you prompted me on this question too, and I was just like trying to think of a bunch of stuff, and I'm just like, but where does my head go? Like, you should have just asked it organically, and obviously, like, you ask anybody about Calgary, and it goes to Calgary Stampede, it goes to like people getting dressed up for no goddamn reason, like you know,
horses and clowns,
right? But Calgary to me, man, I mean, I was born and raised here, so Calgary is everything to me, family, all that stuff. But Calgary's, you know, the gateway to the mountains. You know, Calgary's a 45-minute drive to go eating dinner in Banff, or you know, being out on the lakes, out in the mountains and stuff, and it's just, I don't know, a lot of history. And up until a few years ago, Calgary was that big city, small town kind of vibe. Like, you know, you couldn't go anywhere without running into somebody. I think we've lost that a bit, or maybe it's just because I haven't been out in a year because of COVID. But growing up, that was always the case
for sure.
And you know, but now we're 1.4 million people.
Yeah, it's different.
All that other stuff. But
dude, it's funny. The first word out of your mouth, well, not the first one, but when you said everything, that's how I explain it. Calgary is everything to me. Born and raised here, it's given me everything that I have, and that's a good way to put it.
Exactly. And I mean, it's always nice when we're always ranking high, and whoever's doing these like best city lists or whatever, and I always brag about it. Calgary to me is just better than Edmonton. Like, let's just put it that way.
Dude, that is the best closing statement yet.
What is Calgary to you? Calgary to me is just, all we need to know is we're better than Edmonton.
Dude, I am not going to say much more after that. Thanks for making the time. It was super fun having you on here.
Appreciate it.
Well,
Sorry for talking your ear off.
No, it's so fun. Thanks for doing it.
Cool.
Later, man.